Once upon a time, men used to cringe and they really had to think about the answer that they gave their wives, their girlfriends, to that age-old question, when they're in the dressing room or in the wardrobe. Hey, does my bum look fat? Easily, though, the scariest question to be asked of any man these days is to explain what a woman is. Hello, I'm Mike Bain from Christian Voice New Zealand, and over the past year or so, we've seen many men, the Prime Minister of the day, Chris Hipkins, for example, pour concrete into his boots and sink. While over the past month, I've been listening attentively in church as my own pastor treads carefully on the subject as part of a series defining both sexes from a biblical view. Hey, back in a moment. Well, wasn't it back in the 90s that Canadian country singer Shania Twain declared, "Man, I feel like a woman"? Well, 30 years ago, women across the world were empowered by her song. The best thing about being a woman is the prerogative to have a little fun. Oh, she would say. Short skirts, I just want to have some fun. And then it was all shut down as women forgot to have fun. Now, you might be surprised, or maybe not, but short skirts, men's shirts, going wild and doing it in style is no longer acceptable, especially today, as some men want to come to the same party and wearing a skirt and feel like a woman. But it's a great question, isn't it? Define what a woman is. Now, I have to say, my pastor's doing a great job in explaining, reinforcing the Bible's view of male and female and their biblical roles, which is as far removed as East is from West in today's culture. You know what? I'm only glad it's him on the platform and not me. But at times, though, I feel before he opens his mouth that he's second-guessing what the response is going to be. But the question is not so much of what a woman is. After all, us males have a pretty good hold on what a woman is, or more to the point, what type of woman they want. Now, please note, I mention what I want as opposed to desire. Now, we heard during the 2016 presidential campaign in the United States, Hillary Clinton saying she wanted to break through the glass ceiling. Women, she said, they can be what they want to be. Now, before that, Australian Germaine Greer was encouraging women to burn their bra, and fellow Australian Helen Reddy was on the wireless belting out the song, "I Am Woman, Watch Me Grow." As a man, I have no issue with the burning of bras, and at the same time question why, as they were designed for support and comfort. But I have seen some young women in my lifetime reach out and achieve their goals, while others have been satisfied with singleness, and yet others have gladly accepted the role of a spouse, eventually motherhood and becoming Susie Homemaker. Well, here we are today in a new century, which is already a quarter of the century old. And, well, the world is just so different. But have we progressed so much that we can no longer see the leaves budding on the trees and accept spring is near, or accept that time-old truth? White apparently is no longer white. It can be eggshell white, and who knew there were 50 shades of grey. Up, used to be up, and down was down, truth was truth, but now whatever you believe it is to be. And staying on topic, a woman was a woman, and a man was a man. The only thing that's keeping me sane is being able to hold on to biblical truth, and accepting things will change in our culture. Please note, I said accepting things that will change as opposed to accepting things that have changed in our culture. But I accept today, and even yesterday, there are those in our midst who make it kind of their job, their vocation, to manipulate our culture, to confuse the inhabitants of our planet to the stage where even the prophet Isaiah called out his own generation as the smooth talkers of his day, brought the culture to his day to the point where he denounced their practices. He said, "Woe." No, not this type of expression of woe, but more this type of woe, meaning, yes, the English language can be a bit confusing, but anyway, Isaiah 5, it was woe to those who rise early in the morning to run after their drinks. Woe to those who stay up late at night till they're inflamed with wine. Woe to those who draw sin along with the cords of deceit and wickedness as with the cart ropes. Woe to those who call good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks. Woe to those who make unjust laws, and woe to those who issue oppressive decrees. So let's bring it all back to the confusion that we have over our question of what a woman is. Our current Prime Minister, Christopher Luxon, when asked the question, and I thought he summed it up well with his answer, he said, someone like my mum. Now, I don't know his mum, but I'll take him at his word that, and he's so right, but maybe this is where we become unstuck, because we're being conditioned to think that women are equal to men, and they are, but they have a look back at the biblical definition of equal in Genesis that spoke of the woman being a helper. Ephesians mentions women should submit to their husbands, but also husbands should love their wives as they love themselves, and believe me, that's a sermon for your pastor for another day. I have to say mine is tackling that one currently and doing it very well. But the Proverbs 31 woman is a woman of devotion. She's not praised because she's giving, a good businesswoman, or how well she takes care of the home. She's praised because she's devoted to God. All of her virtuous qualities are founded on her devotion to the Lord. Now, I'll be fair and say that even men, I know it's hard to accept, but they struggle to live up to biblical standards. But I want to be clear. There is just something about a feminine woman that pleases man. The softness, the comforting they provide, the tenderness, the nurturing that men just cannot provide, although, unfortunately, as I said, some dress up and try. But how did we get here? To the point where we have to ask the question, and attempting clumsily for Chris Hipkins defining what a woman is. Well, let me explain it in a way that we can understand. We've openly allowed ourselves to be manipulated into a state of confusion. We've allowed it to happen with our woke, hand-wringing, politically correct attitudes. We've opened the door and allowed the ways of the evil one who transforms himself into an angel of light to come in. The Apostle Paul in 2 Timothy 3 speaks of the condition of the people in the last days and mentions in verse 5 that they would have a form of godliness, but deny its power. And he said, had nothing to do with such people. Then he went on, and this is the bit that a lot of people don't actually read because, they've done the big scripture there. He went on and he said, they're the kind who worm their way into homes and gain control over gullible women who are loaded down with sins and are swayed by all kinds of evil desires, always learning but never able to come to a knowledge of the truth. Even in those times, there were people he singled out, so Timothy knew exactly who he was pointing the finger at. In verse 8, we read that just as Jannes and Jambres opposed Moses, so also these teachers oppose the truth. They are men of depraved minds who, as far as the faith is concerned, are rejected. But they will not get very far because, as in the case of those men, their folly will be clear to everyone. So, look, there it is. It was us. We left the door open for Satan to come and entertain us with television, movies, music, books, every form of technology available. But I could just about be correct when I say to every woman watching they'll be kind of scoffing at Germaine Greer, who incidentally recanted that the bra is indeed useful, an aid for women's health and stature. I spoke earlier of the type of woman desired by man, and the type he really wants. He doesn't want a plaything. He'll soon tire of the sex kittens portrayed in pornography as he treads the normality of life. But he wants a woman who's a helper. He wants someone who can play the game with her feminine wiles, someone who will be the mother to his and her children, and someone who will fix up the scrapes and the scratches that both he and his children will get, and be the one he can lean on for advice and encouragement when the seas of life get a little bit choppy. But above all, he wants a woman And she wants a man who they can both love and both kiss and tell them that everything's going to be all right and they'll feel safe. Look, I bet you're thinking that's straight out of a rom-com or fairy tale, but is that not what you want, what you really want? True? If you want to know, if you want a definition of what a woman is, simply do this. Ask one. It's that simple. If you want to know what kind of a woman God created, look into his word. And ladies, don't conform to the way today's culture wants you to be, and that also applies to your daughters as well. Men and women have a role to play in the makeup of this earth. Yes, look, break the glass ceiling and reach for the stars. There's nothing wrong with that aspiration. But remember, some girls' aspirations are to be Susie Homemaker, and just as you want to progress and get grumpy when you're told you can't be. But please stop telling others who don't want your aspiration, your goal, and that they cannot be Susie Homemaker. Hey, can I just finish with the words of Jesus from Matthew 24, as it's kind of been a theme we've been working on this year. Jesus said, "Watch out that no one deceives you." Now, while he may have been speaking about the big message of end times, nation against nation and all that important stuff, but when it comes to gender, it's just one of those harbingers that we talk about as a sign of the end. So it's important that you stay awake and watch that no one deceives you. And a man is a man, and a woman is a woman. Hey, thanks for watching, and as always, we love getting your feedback. Leave your comments, and I encourage you to subscribe to our weekly newsletter on our website page, christianvoicenewzealand.com. Now, I normally would leave you with a Bible verse, but today I want to show you this picture so you can just ponder about the direction your life is heading. Until next time.